Okay, let's go back to common spaces. When you're free, you should ask your parents about how in the 1960s the government had a resettlement program. People at that time who lived in kampongs had to move to HDB flats. In 1989, the government came up with the Ethnic Integration Policy, which is basically what we know today as the HDB race quota. It means that each HDB block cannot have too many people of the same race. Like, for example, if 50% of the people in my block are Indian, then HDB will not let more Indian people move in, because I think the maximum number of people that can be Indian is about 5% or maybe 15%. This is to prevent the entire block from being dominated by one race. It forces you to interact with people from a different race on a daily basis, and this promotes bonding. In 2002, the government introduced interracial confidence circles and harmony circles. Take note that this was in 2002, which was just after September 11th attacks and after the JI terrorists were arrested under ISA. The government realized that terrorism can be prevented using racial and religious integration. The IRCCs and HCs help to organize visits to temples, churches, and mosques. And this exposes people to different cultures, and hopefully they will become more tolerant of other cultures. Like I said before, people fear what they don't understand. So if you help them to understand, then there would be less suspicion and distrust, and therefore more racial harmony. Another way to help Singaporeans bond is to make sure that Another way to help Singaporeans bond is to make sure that they have a common experience. A common experience, a shared experience through national service. Take note that this was in 1967, a few years after the 1964 race riots. When you suffer together, you become friends. Like, I'm sure those of you in uniformed groups have very strong bonds with your platoon mates after going for camp. And you guys are Sec 3, right? So you had a Sec 3 bonding camp to help you make friends. The same thing goes for NS. NS is a shared experience that all Singaporean men can relate to. It's something that they have in common. It's important to manage ethnic diversity because then it maintains peace and harmony in Singapore, and foreign investors will be more confident to invest in a country that is stable. Like, if I had $1 million to build a factory, do you think I would build it in Afghanistan where there's war every day, where my factory can be burned down any day? No, right? I would build it in Singapore because I know that it's stable and I know that the government is strong enough to maintain peace. When there's peace in a country, tourists are also more likely to come to Singapore to spend money. Remember that Singapore is very dependent on tourism. So we cannot take any chances of this. If you remember chapter 4, we studied the Sri Lanka conflict, and because of the Sri Lankan civil war, there was a lot of unrest, then their tourism fell. So that's why stability and peace is very important for Singapore's economic growth. That's the main thing you need to take away from this. Economic growth. It's all that matters. This is a mind map to help you structure what you've learned. And here's a summary of the points we've covered. This is not everything, okay? If you want a more complete picture, you should listen to this lecture again. Okay, that's all for chapter 5, and please remember to read your textbooks and also search Wikipedia if you're not sure about anything. The end. Thank you.